Bienvenidos a un nuevo episodio de Martes de Números, un podcast del Colegio de Contadores Públicos Autorizados de Puerto Rico. Las declaraciones aquí vertidas son para propósitos educativos exclusivamente y no tienen como fin ni deben considerarse como una consulta contributiva, legal o de contabilidad. Cualquier consejo que esta grabación contenga no ha sido considerado o escrito para ser usado y no puede usarse con el propósito de evadir penalidades que puedan imponerse al amparo del Código de Rentas Internas o de cualquier disposición contributiva local, estatal o federal.
Saludos, soy la CPA Carmen Vélez, presidenta del Comité de Diversidad, Equidad e Inclusión del Colegio de CPA. Y para mí es un placer y una alegría y honor compartir este espacio con la CPA Michelle de la Cruz y la CPA Nora Sánchez. Bienvenidas ambas.
Saludos,
gracias por estar aquí.
Todos.
Y para enriquecer aún más este diálogo, también se une a nosotras, aunque a la distancia, Crystal Cooke, nuestra directora de Diversidad e Inclusión de la AICPA. Crystal, thank you. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for joining us on Martes de Números. How are you? Everything good?
Everything is wonderful. I can't complain. I'm happy to be here with you all
Oh,
today.
great. Y antes de continuar, queremos recordarles a quienes nos siguen a través de nuestro canal de YouTube que pueden activar la opción de subtítulos para disfrutar de este episodio en español. So, lesbian ladies, before we begin, I would like to quote the Michelle Obama interview with Nina Garcia about diversity, and I will begin. Our glorious diversity, our diversity of faith and of colors and creed, that it is not a threat to who we are. It makes who we are. Diversity matters. It is important. It is the right thing to do.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so Crystal, for our listeners who may not know you, can you please let us know a little bit about you, about your role, what led you to work with diversity and inclusion?
Yes, sure. Absolutely. I'd love to. And thank you so much for transitioning over from Spanish to English for me, because I was getting a little worried.
This is Spanglish.
Jump in. But first and foremost, for those who may not be able to see me, I am an African-American woman with what I call latte brown skin. I have short, curly hair. It's cut closer around the sides, longer on top. Today, I'm wearing clear cat eye glasses, similar to Carmen's, but mine are clear.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
I have large hoop earrings that are also clear to match the glasses. I'm wearing a green, I think this is sea green, zip up top with a cream shirt underneath. Typically, I stand about 6 feet tall, which I'm sitting at my desk in Bowie, Maryland, so you can't really tell that. But when I went to Puerto Rico and visited you all, I learned that I was quite taller than most people there.
Yes, you are, especially with me.
So it was quite funny to see, but yes. So thank you for joining me. I wanted to give that visual description for those who may not be able to see me today. But a little fun stuff about me. I'm a daughter of 2 parents who live in the state of Ohio. I'm a sister of 2 brothers. I'm the middle child. I always say middle child is the best child. I'm an auntie. I am a mom of 2 boys who are 14 and 16. So they're going through high school here in the States. God bless me, trying to get through that. I love sports, particularly American football and basketball. And yes, I did play basketball with all this height. It's my favorite sport. And my 2 boys also play. So one of my mantras, my favorite mantra, is I leave everything better than I found it. That is my goal. That is what I hope to do in this role here at the AICPA. And yes, I get to be the director of diversity and inclusion here. And my team and I are responsible for helping members cultivate environments where the workforce is inclusive of people with different experiences, different perspectives, diversity of thought, where all that is valued and supported. And we design resources to help members navigate that and create cultures where everyone in that workplace can grow and thrive. And so how did I get to this work? Well, I actually think it was divine intervention.
Okay.
I'm a religious person, and I think God saw something for me before I even saw it. This was a pathway that I did not intend to go down, but because of the way things happened, I thought I was going to be a partner at KPMG. If you could have asked me then, that's what I thought. But God had a different plan, and I ended up leaving KPMG for various reasons. One being I never actually got my CPA license, even though I love this profession and I think it's a great profession. And I work for the AICPA who supports the CPA exam. So I do think it's still a very valuable and important credential to carry. And I still love the profession. But because of that, I had to go a different route.
Okay.
And I think because I did not have that, I was going down the route that was meant for me anyway. My next job that I got was the Center for Audit Quality, and I didn't even apply. I wasn't even looking for it. Jobs came to me. And that next job that I had after KPMG at the Center for Audit Quality was where I started working in the talent space and doing a little bit in diversity and inclusion. And that's where I developed my passion, my love for this work. I felt like I could make a change and have impact and be influential and help people navigate these challenging spaces. And so when my predecessor in this role, her name was Kim Drungo, when she left and moved on to another role, she reached out to me and said, I think this would be great for you. And because that was where my passion lay, I took a leap and I said, I'm going to do this. And I've been doing this ever since 2020. And I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. And I'm going to stay in this role until I can leave it better than I found it. So that's kind of how I got here.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Crystal, about the topic of diversity, equity, and inclusion, just recently we are hearing a lot of it, but it's not something new. It's something that it's old. From your perspective, how do you think the AICPA is seeing the evolution of it in the accounting profession?
Yep. Great question, actually. And yes, you're correct. It is not new.
No, it's not.
It's been going on for a very, very long time, decades, in fact. And we actually, at the AICPA, we started this work in 1969. You may not even realize that. We had our first Minority Recruitment and Equal Opportunity Committee. That's now evolved into the committee that I lead, what's called the National Commission on Diversity and Inclusion. And that focuses on supporting talent across their entire experience in the profession, wherever they may be, and helping them to have the resources they need to be successful. And so it guides and supports the profession and creating workplaces where no matter where you come from, you can thrive. You can be recruited into this profession. You're attracted to it. You want to stay here. You want to be an inclusive leader yourself. Like that's the work that we do. And we've been doing it, to your point, for a long time. Fast forward to 1989, we then established our Women's Initiative Executive Committee. I was just at our conference that relates to that committee a couple of weeks ago, or that was just last week, actually. From then to like a couple of years ago, we created our LGBTQ plus initiatives committee. So we are evolving, like you said, and getting better and realizing where our work needs to focus. I mean, there are so many elements of diversity that there's no way we can have a committee to support all of them, but we are starting where we can. We're not going to boil the ocean, and we're going to put our attention into the areas where we think it's most needed as of today, and then evolve from there. But it continues to grow. If you ask me, it can't stop. We have to keep evolving. The world keeps evolving. The world gets more diverse every day. If you look at the census data, it already shows that from the last one that was done 10 years ago, we're already more diverse. So this work cannot stop, because we need to be able to support all the different diverse perspectives that come through our work profession and our workplaces.
Okay. Hi, Crystal. Looking back, what would you say have been some of the milestones or shifts in mindset around DEI within the accounting field, taking into consideration the amount of time that been, leading all this?
Yeah, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention George Floyd and what happened around that. I think that was one of the biggest milestones, at least in my time here at the AICPA, for sure. As unfortunate and terrible as that all that was in 2020, that incident brought new light to how important our work is, how you could see, it gave you empathy into knowing how we all needed support and all those kind of things, and how we just needed to move forward as better people and be better to each other. And so that kind of shifted things to where people, and I will say, throughout all of the history of diversity, things always go up and down. There's always periods where it's things are going great, things aren't. Things are going great, things aren't. We keep going through it. We keep fighting through it, and we've made it this far. We've reached challenges before, and we've overcome them before, and we will continue to. And that leads me to today, the other milestone, which I think, and that is the executive orders that have come out through our administration here in the US. And I think they are in part meant to reinforce that there should be fair treatment and equal opportunity for all. That's what I'm going to take from those executive orders. And that's something that we've always been fighting for. We always want fair treatment. We've always wanted equal opportunity. We've always wanted to be hired for what we bring. And we've always wanted merit-based hiring. And so these executive orders have kind of been packaged in a way that's wrapping all that good work that we've been working for anyway, in fear. Diversity and inclusion is being misunderstood. And when it's always been about helping everyone get across the finish line, it's never been about putting one demographic above another, which is kind of what it makes it sound like. It's about giving everyone the tools they need to be successful and leaving no one behind. And so that's kind of, I think we're now in this movement where people aren't sure of the work, but I'm here to reassure people that the work is still important. We have to keep doing it. And this moment that we're in now is just a moment, and we need to move past it and get on and keep making sure that we are growing together as a population of people.
Crystal, sometimes we hear that diversity isn't just about hiring, it's also about the inclusion and belonging. How do you think the firms can move from diversity to true inclusion?
So I think first I want to be clear about what all these different terms mean, right? Yeah. We're saying diversity, we're saying inclusion, we're saying all these things. So I think, especially in this time where we are now, I think we need to take the time to explain what all these words mean, because people are misdrawing them and turning them into different things. Yeah. So diversity is the similarities and differences of people that we find in our workplace. Mm-hmm. What you bring, all of us. It includes people from all demographic backgrounds. It includes people from all different walks of life. That's diversity, all of us. Equity is providing fair, not preferential, but fair treatment for everyone. Tailored support, tailored resources. Again, I always tell people with equity, do you treat all of your kids the same? Do you treat all your nieces the same? If you're a teacher, do you treat all of your students the same? No, you can't. Everyone has a different need, and you have a unique circumstances that they need to be supported through and to be able to thrive. Inclusion is about creating environments that embrace all those differences, which no matter what you have and what you bring, you feel welcome, respected, supported. If you come to the table with a disability, you feel like that is not a hindrance. We have provided an environment for you where you can still thrive even with that disability. That is inclusion. And belonging is feeling security and support. Like a feeling of acceptance, like everybody has a place, everybody's valued, everybody has an identity. All those things make up belonging. And so each one of those pieces is important. And I think getting the right mix of diverse perspectives, experience, thought, all that is important. But that's only the first step, to your point, Nora. Diversity, getting everyone there is the first step. But if those people get through the door and don't feel like they're valued, they don't feel supported, they don't feel like they can contribute, they're not going to stay, and we're not going to have a workforce. So I think we tend to stop after getting everybody there. And I think that is the challenge. And I think firms need to now, okay, yes, let's not forget about that though, because we still need everybody there.
Evolution.
But then once they're there, now what? How do you make them stay? And I think that's where the inclusion and the belonging come in, and creating spaces where people can show up, feel like they're a part. And that's, those are the places where people stay.
That's good. Yep.
Okay. See, despite progress, and I'm talking about, you said about 1969 when you first started, with all this, there are still challenges in attracting and retaining diverse talent in the accounting field. What barriers do you think still exist today so that we can try to attain that?
Yeah, it's a shame that we are still working on all of these issues. You would think that it wouldn't be that hard, but it's, and I'd like to call them, I try to be more optimistic, and I call them hurdles, not barriers. For me, barriers seem so permanent, like you can't get around a barrier, but a hurdle, we can climb over that. We can come around it. We can figure out a way to get past the hurdle. So that's what I like to call them just for my optimistic brain. And so I think our biggest hurdle is that our profession focuses so much on the technical aspects of accounting. We give everyone all this training on all the debits, the credits, the how to do this, the audit, the tax, all the things. We have so much training on that, but we don't do hardly as much training on the soft skills. How to be an inclusive leader, how to make your team feel like they belong, how to provide a psychologically safe environment for people so that they can show up, feel confident that they can contribute to a discussion and not get ridiculed for providing input. Like that kind of training is not given on the regular. And so I think leaders are thrown into positions where they have to lead people, and they don't really properly know how to lead different perspectives. And that's, again, like I said earlier, everyone comes different. So how I lead Jane isn't how I lead Joe. And so you have to figure out what is different and what makes them thrive. And people don't take the time to do that because there's so much work and they're trying to get everything done. And it's those little things that bring people together. Those are the things where you can understand different perspectives. Our profession, our strength lies in our people. And if we can't keep our people, how are we going to sustain success in this profession? And so I think we need to focus more on the people side of the business and how to create these environments where all our employees feel like they are safe, they're trusted, they trust each other. And so I always give the example. For some reason, when you bring this back to kids, everybody understands it and put it in that shape. And so I always say, imagine you're a child and you walk up to this playground that you've never played before. The playground is like the workplace, right? Okay. And it's the first time you've been there, and the kids are all playing. They're already friends. You're new to the area. You don't know anyone. And you're like, okay, it's kind of scary. I'm going to go up here though and go out of my comfort zone and try and play with these kids. As soon as you arrive though, you're scared, but someone comes out of the crowd and says, "Hi, how are you? I'm so-and-so. Come over and play with us. What's your name? Do you want to join us? We're playing this game. Do you want to play too? Oh, wait, do you have any games that you can provide for us to play? Let's play." And then you all get to playing and you're having fun. And maybe you make a mistake and you do the game wrong and you lose or whatever. And instead of laughing at you because you lost, they are then like, "Oh, it's okay. We're going to show you how to do it the right way. Let's still have fun. You can fail over here, but we still keep going." Like, that's kind of the environment that we want people to be in when they go to work every day. We can show up, we can try new games, we can ask questions, we can feel the courage to speak up and do things, even make mistakes and not worry about anyone laughing at us or teasing us. Like, that's a safe environment. And that's what we all need to learn how to do. And sometimes have to put the work aside to focus on the people to get the work done, if that makes sense.
Crystal, in that same line, once your example of a playground, it's excellent. But then if you're looking at the work site, what do you think are the most common mistakes or misunderstandings or misconceptions at the workplace implementing DEI?
Yeah, I think I always see people rolling out initiatives before they even sit down and develop a comprehensive strategy and figure out what the workplace even needs. I think the first people will be is, let's have a webcast or let's do this. But I think, honestly, the first thing you should do is sit down with the important stakeholders in the workplace and develop a plan and a strategy. Just like you do for any other new initiative that you start. Or just like when you get down to plan your audit or your tax season, you come up with a plan for for that client as to how it's going to roll out. You should do the same thing for your DEI initiatives. And you should figure out, what's the end goal? What do we want to accomplish over the next 1 to 3 years? And then lay out a plan for how to do it. What activities do we want to do in year 1? And then celebrate those small wins, right? Because this is a journey. This is not something that can just change overnight. And
is there any example that you can give us about that same DEI program?
Again, an example of one that works. Yes, actually. But one more thing I want to mention about the strategy. Please make sure you get input from your employees. People will roll out things, never get any input, and they sometimes miss the mark completely on what is missing and what is needed. And so employees best can articulate what is needed. And one way, Nora, to your point, to do that is through, we call them ERGs, or employee resource groups. I've seen them be very successful. For those who don't know what they are, they're groups they're created to support specific communities within the organization. It could be one for disability, like I said before. It could be working parents. It could be veterans. It could be whatever your workplace needs. And you ask your workplace, what support do you need? What kind of work? And it's peer-to-peer support. They're employee ran, and they're meant to foster inclusion, drive innovation, create safe spaces where people can talk to each other. Allies are asked to participate. So even if you don't identify with whatever the identity-based group is, if you're an ally, you still can participate, because it's important to have all perspectives involved. And you can come and learn. They're open to anybody who wants to learn, support, or even just stand in solidarity with their colleagues over whatever that topic is. But I've seen them provide opportunities for mentorship. I've seen them provide, those groups help the workplace with insights on different things. It helps people build connection, sponsorship relationships. So people will learn about people in these groups who they maybe never even heard of before. And now they are advocating on their behalf for them. It boosts engagement. Now you know where others are in the workplace who look like you and who are going through things like you, who you can go to when you're struggling with things. And so they have been proven to be very resourceful tools, and they are not illegal for those. They just have to be open for everyone to be able to participate, those who identify and allies, and they are very successful.
Thank you.
Okay. Nowadays, here in Puerto Rico, we're working to strengthen inclusion within our own CPA firms. What advice would you offer us to make DEI more meaningful in smaller markets or local chapters, like in our own CPA community?
Yeah. I mean, I think I would first ask the members what they need, like complete a survey, right? Of what kind of support is needed, one. But then once you identify those initiatives or what those areas are, I would frame them around things that matters most to your local. Like, don't worry about these huge global trends that you are hearing. That might not resonate with your workforce or what your members need. So, for example, if you have, I keep going back to disabilities because it's something that's just top of mind that I've been working on. But if you have a large community of people with disabilities in your membership or in your small community, focus on that. If you have a huge like a multi-generational workforce, and you're learning that people in your community are struggling with how to learn how to work with younger and older generations, then you put some resources together on that to find ways to help bridge that gap. Start small and just focus on the basic concepts of fairness, respect, belonging, those little things, and then empower people within your community who identify with those things to share their stories and their experiences. So it helps you build empathy and understanding around what they're lacking in the community and what they need. And then you can all learn and work together on coming up with solutions to those challenges. And then you can also cross collaborate. Like if there's different chapters who all work on the same thing, share best practices or even come together on one common initiative. Another thing is if you have local organizations outside of the CPA firm, maybe there's like a Disability Inc. or whatever in your organization or in your community who you can team up with to help partner on an important issue. That's always a good way of building inclusion and learning around those things. So that's kind of, I don't know if that answers your question, but
yes, it did.
Yes, it does.
About
about that same line of thought, what about, do you think the young professionals and maybe students that are listening to us, what's the one step that they can contribute to the equity profession? Can I tell you something right now? In our CPA society, in our chapter, which is chapter of Rio Piedras, we got lots of young professionals. So it's a step forward, as you were saying. What do they need in order to contribute to this equality or equitable professional?
Equitable, yes.
Equitable.
Gotcha. I think having young people in my life, I tell them, you need to get involved. You need to raise your hand. Your voice needs to be heard. We need to hear what your perspectives are. And that's in order for us all to work together to shape the profession to be what we want it to be in the future, one where they can thrive in the future. We need to hear from them. And all perspectives are important. So they need to show up, get involved in your state society, raise your hand to join one of the committees that are there, provide your thoughts on how to make, young people have great ideas. They just need to get from behind the computer and come share these ideas and get involved and find a mentor. Get in front of someone who is doing something that you want to do and partner with them. They will help engage you with the community. They will help you see the things that they've gone through and learned. There's always something to learn, always. And so what I tell younger people, find someone in the profession who is doing what either you're doing or different. You can always use different perspectives. I actually have what I call my own board of directors of people who I go to who maybe they may not even know that they are, but they are giving me insights on different things. I'm watching what they're doing. I'm learning from them. And if I see something that I'm curious about, I'll raise my hand and I'll say something and I'll want to be involved. And so that's kind of what I have. And I always say one of my mantras, another one that I have that I didn't mention earlier is, I'm a member of NABA, which is the National Association of Black Accountants, and they have a mantra, lift as you climb, right? And so I tell everyone, even the young people, you can be lifting as you climb. Find somebody else to share your understanding with, your knowledge with. The woman who was in the role before me, she lifted into a bigger role and climbed and brought me up to her role. So we're all growing together. And so find someone, bring them along, and share your wisdom is what I tell most people, even young people.
Thank you, Crystal.
Crystal, before we close, and it has been a very interesting story. I mean, it's a very good episode that we have been talking about. What's one message you'd like every CPA, whether in the U.S. mainland or here in Puerto Rico, to keep in mind about the importance of diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, I don't. One thing is hard, but I will say, stay the course, remain resilient, and don't waver. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in the world right now that impact, or maybe it's just the US, that impact this work. But it's important. One, stay compliant with all the regulations that are coming out if they apply to you. But that doesn't mean that the work must stop. There are ways that you continue this work. It's actually, if you look into the executive orders for US folks, it's talking about anti-discrimination, which we support, equal opportunity, which we support, merit-based hiring, which we support. Accounting can't afford to hire people not on merit. So we need good people to do the work. So I think there are a lot of things in there that we can wrap our work around. We may have to frame things differently, but we can continue to do the work. And I will say too, as a last thing, in the committee that I told you I was on, the National Commission on Diversity and Inclusion, are working on creating a leading practices guide to help organizations navigate everything that's going on. That kind of lays out how you can move forward in a way that you can keep doing this work. And I'll be sure to share it with you all so that you can share it with your members when it comes out. It's being produced right now, but just as a help to reinforce some of the things that I'm saying today.
Thank you.
So, Crystal, I don't know what to say more than thank you for sharing your insights and experience. But more than that, I would say your passion with diversity and inclusion. It's like an example to follow. You motivate us to follow, to continue with our purpose at this committee. Ustedes, mis colegas, gracias por apoyarnos en esta iniciativa. Seguimos
para adelante. Un placer haber compartido con ustedes este episodio. De verdad que estuvo
interesante.
Muy interesante.
No, divino. Espero que de verdad que igualmente a todos ustedes, nuestros oyentes, gracias por acompañarnos una semana más. Esperamos que esta conversación les inspire a continuar promoviendo la diversidad, equidad e inclusión, no solo en sus lugares de trabajo, sino en todos los ámbitos de sus hermosas vidas. Los esperamos la próxima semana en otro episodio de Martes de Números. Hasta entonces.
Gracias por escuchar este episodio de Martes de Números, un podcast del Colegio de Contadores Públicos Autorizados de Puerto Rico. Las declaraciones aquí vertidas son para propósitos educativos exclusivamente y no tienen como fin ni deben considerarse como una consulta contributiva, legal o de contabilidad. Cualquier consejo que esta grabación contenga no ha sido considerado o escrito para ser usado y no puede usarse con el propósito de evadir penalidades que puedan imponerse al amparo del Código de Rentas Internas o de cualquier disposición contributiva local, estatal o federal. Conexión a Internet para este podcast provista por nuestro auspiciador, Aeronet.